Good morning, Harmony and Consolidated. It's Mr. Calvert. I hope that you guys are having a good morning. I miss you all very much. Seems like it's been so long since I saw you last. I hope that you're staying safe, getting outside and getting some fresh air during this time. Today, I have a new artist for you for your Artist of the Day. And some of you may have heard of him before. He's kind of famous, or not kind of, he's very famous, and his name is Banksy. And Banksy is anonymous. We have no idea who he is. I mean, actually, we have some idea of who he is, but nobody's 100% sure. And this is a picture of him from, he came out with a documentary a few years ago called Exit Through the Gift Shop. So this is a picture of him from that movie, but we really don't know who he is. That's why his face is all shaded out. But we do know that he is probably from Bristol, which is in the United Kingdom, and we think he's about age 46, but we're not 100% sure. And he is a street artist. So that means that he makes artwork on buildings and on walls, and his work is illegal. So technically, you call it like graffiti or vandalism to some people. Now, some people like street art, other people don't, because it is illegal. You can't just go and paint on the side of somebody's wall. You would get put in jail for that or get fined for that. One thing I really like about street artists is a lot of them have this idea that street art is for everybody because we can all walk down the street and see their artwork. It's not something that you have to pay to go in and see in a museum. So they're kind of making artwork for everybody. And also times a lot of times street art is used to talk about things that are happening in this world too. So not only is he a street artist, but he's also an activist. He uses artwork to make a statement about things that are happening. So here is Bristol. It's over in the UK and England. We would be right here in southern Wisconsin. Okay. So a lot of times when we look at his work, it's kind of humorous. He oftentimes has kind of a witty or funny sense about his work. I also said it's very political. So a lot of times he's talking about things that are happening in the world with his artwork. And he does a style of graffiti where he uses a stencil. And a lot of you guys have used stencils to make artwork before, or like tracers. So he'll actually cut out a picture out of like cardboard or out of a sheet of paper, and then he tapes it to a wall, and then he spray paints inside the parts that are cut out. So a lot of times his colors are very simple. We'll see like black. A lot of times we'll see a gray, and then we'll see whatever color the wall is. So you can see this girl, she's actually only two colors, but you'll see it in some of his others where his colors are very simple, and that's because he's using a stencil. Now, Mrs. Bennett, for those of you who are at Harmony, I know that this week her assignment was to listen to the Red Balloon. So she asked me if I would put together this presentation on Banksy because she knew that he had a very famous painting involving a red balloon. And this is probably his most famous artwork that he's done of this heart-shaped balloon being blown away from this young girl. A lot of times because he makes his artwork on the sides of walls and he's very famous, there are two different things that oftentimes happen, or actually three different things. Sometimes if it happens on your building, people will actually put like a big sheet of glass over it so people can't damage it. Oftentimes too, other street artists will come and paint over his artwork or kind of deface it. So people like to put glass over it to try and protect that from happening. And also people will oftentimes actually remove the entire wall that his artwork is painted on because it's worth a lot of money. They'll actually cut the wall out and then they sell it at an auction to make money off of it. But that is not usually Banksy's intention. Usually he doesn't want his artwork to be removed from the buildings. So we saw the girl with the balloon. He's done a few different versions of that too. Last year, he went to sell a print of it at a place called Sotheby's, and that's a very famous place where they auction off really expensive artwork. And as soon as it sold, the artwork began to slide down the artwork, and Banksy had actually hidden a shredder inside of his picture frame. So it actually began to shred that painting. And this happened right after somebody had spent like millions of dollars on this painting, and something like this had never happened before at Sotheby's. So that was all over the news when that happened. And it was supposed to shred the entire thing, but it actually stopped right when it hit the edge of the frame. So you can see that most of it's come out here, but if you see the actual finished picture, a lot of it just hangs out the bottom of the frame. And that wasn't on purpose. He had meant for it to shred the entire thing so that the frame had nothing left inside it, but something went wrong when that happened. And recently on Valentine's Day, he did this edition of his heart. So here we see this is supposed to be his heart balloon, and then it shows this young child shooting it with a what do they call that? A slingshot, and it's exploding. And then he actually made the explosion out of flowers. So if you see this up close, there's a bunch of small flowers on this. Now, this is one that somebody actually went and defaced or ruined afterwards. Somebody spray painted on top of the young child, which is sad that they did that. But that was just a few different versions of that red balloon artwork that he's done. He also likes to partner with other artists, oftentimes street artists, in his work. This one he partnered with Os Gemios, who were our artists of the days a week or two ago, and they are a set of twins from Brazil who make artwork too. So typically they make like these yellow people, and you can see how he partnered it with his style. So they actually collaborated on it. So this one we see a bunch of Banksy's suited up security guards or militia, and then we see one person from the Os Gemios, and then how it's been flipped. Here we see a bunch of the people created by Os Gemios, and then one person created by Banksy. Another one that he's done is he's referenced an artist named Keith Haring. So here we see one of Banksy's traditional figures. We see the black, this wall color, and then a little bit of white or gray. So he's really using three colors, like I mentioned before. A lot of times he uses like hooded people too with masks on. And then he made it look like this person's walking a dog, but the dog is obviously a very like cartoon version. And this is a way to honor a street artist from the 80s called Keith Haring, who's very famous. And here's kind of what Keith Haring's artwork looked like. So you can see the similarities. Keith Haring isn't alive anymore, but this is kind of his way to throw back to Keith Haring. Here's another one that he did in New York City. He went to New York for like a month and put up an artwork like every day. Here we see Ronald McDonald with his large clown shoes, and then a young man who's trying to make a living by polishing shoes. So you can see him polishing Ronald McDonald's large clown shoes. A few years back, he did something called Dismaland, which is based on Disneyland, but instead of it being really happy like Disneyland, he made it very dismal or kind of like a sad version of it. So here we see the castle from Disneyland, how he made it look very run down. And he also partnered with a bunch of other artists on this. So a lot of these artworks aren't actually made by Banksy. I'm not sure which ones were and which ones weren't. But he hired a bunch of other artists to come in and help make artwork for this kind of sad amusement park that he put on. So down here we see a guy sitting on a bench. This is an actual person sitting, but then next to him there's a sculpture of a woman being attacked by a bunch of pigeons. Okay, so this is person on the right, that's the sculpture, and the person on the left, this is an actual person sitting on the bench. And here we see another sculpture of, this is in reference to like SeaWorld, where oftentimes people are criticizing SeaWorld for having like pools that are too small for their whales. So it shows a small pool of water, which is the toilet, and then that killer whale coming, or that orca coming up out of the toilet to jump through a hoop back into another small pool of water. And recently, for COVID-19 or the quarantine that we're on, he actually just released this one like a week or two ago because he is stuck at home. He actually decided to make this artwork at his house. And he came out on Instagram and said that his wife does not like it when he has to work from home because he went and put this artwork up in their bathroom. So when we think of Banksy, a lot of times he uses rats in his artwork. That's kind of what he likes to use. So he painted these rats all over his bathroom, and it shows them getting into a bunch of trouble. Like this one in the mirror is marking tallies of something on the wall. This one's tipping the mirror. We see that they're hanging off of things. This one's running on the toilet paper roll and it's running down. This one's squirting the soap down. So he actually did this one in his bathroom. Kind of a funny way to make artwork at home because he can't go out and do it outside. All right, so this is Banksy. Hopefully you guys enjoyed learning about him. He's probably the most famous street artist out there right now. But kind of cool to see all of his different works that he's done. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye.